It's Brainwashed with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with Eric Perrotti. Sheila Chandra, Chanel Song.
Sheila Chandra is a vocalist that on her records, she often does pieces that are just her one single voice. And I knew I wanted to include her as an inspiration of mine. I've only known of her for about 3 or 4 years. She is from India, grew up in England, and she's got this amazing voice, growing up with Indian influences in London. So she's got this English accent, but when she sings and does things that are Indian, it's amazing, the blend of that perfection of vocal with the deep root of culture. And this particular piece is just a vocal piece of her going through almost like humming with your mouth open. But she does a lot of things, one of which called speaking in tongues, where she does these just percussive sounds with her voice. It's amazing, and I encourage anybody to get the Zen Kiss, which is the album this is from, and listen to this. But the Chennai song, what I like about it is the use of bizarre Indian Eastern raga modes where you're holding a bass note like this and doing something like... which is the actual mode she's using in that. And I have tried so much to compose with those kind of, this half-step feel. You know, so as an influence, it has almost nothing to do with guitar directly, but it's the indirect influence that causes me to try to use those types of scales and modes when I'm composing and writing a solo, a lead, if you will. So I would say that she's a big influence for me.
It's Brainwashed with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with Eric Perrotti. Steve Howe, Diary of a Man Who Vanished.
And I used to know a little bit of that. It was this really great melody that was like... like that. The interesting thing about that is it was written like that in the Chet Atkins style, but the recording I have of it is done with an electric guitar playing the melody over a few other guitars playing some chords in the background. And what I love about it is Steve Howe's ability to display a few fast riffs, not anywhere near his fastest, but his attention to melody in this, which meant a lot to me as a kid who was learning how to play fast. You know, I really was able to do that at one time, believe it or not. Play fast and just race through scales and miss the whole point. I was just playing every note in the spectrum as quickly as I could in the shortest amount of time. It's the notes you select that are more important, that create the melody, and that's what that song did to me, because I was so attached to it, and then one day I couldn't figure out why. I thought, this is not really his most technical thing. Why do I love this song so much? It painted this great minor image. It sounded so British to me, actually. You know, like traveling through the English countryside during cloudy weather or something. It gives me that feeling. And the Diary of a Man Who Vanished, who was this man? Did he live in a castle somewhere in the countryside of England? And it really, these images are so vivid to me, I think, because he selected notes that created this melody that he kept throughout the whole song. This beep-ba-da-bum, beep-da-da-bum, beep-ba-da-bum. It just sticks with you. And I love that piece because of that.
It's Brainwashed with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with Eric Perrotti. The Beatles, Within You, Without You.
A George Harrison composition again. If you bought the album on vinyl, it was again the beginning of side 2, which that was the greatest thing about vinyl. You'd finish side 1 and you get the second helping, and there was a way of opening it, just like you opened the album originally. It was like the curtain closes, you take a break, and the curtain opens again. And we don't get that with CDs. But Within You, Without You was the amazing influence of Indian raga tone rows, which are scales per se. That's what we call them, but they call them tone rows. And it's this melody that goes, we were talking about the love between us, like that. And all the instruments on it are Eastern Indian instruments, sitars, sarangi violins, and tablas, and tamboras, and things like that. And I think that the Beatles were so responsible, especially George Harrison, for bringing that Eastern sound to the Western ear. In a pop light, in a way that was, this is on a rock album, you know, and we're going to do this thing with sitars and all, and we're not going to put a single Western instrument on this song. And I don't even know what their intentions were. I don't think they meant to blow away the world with that. They just loved it, you know, and they thought, this is great. It's like a meditation that we're going to put on our record now, you know. And the lyrics tended to be even deeper because of that. So,
well, that seems to tie in with that other...
Sheila Chandra, the Chennai song. I actually bought a sitar a couple of years ago, and it's real interesting because it obviously is an early ancestor of the guitar. It even rhymes with it, sitar, guitar. I believe tar actually is the word for string in certain forms of Eastern world. I know that, for example, the dutar is a two-string instrument. But not all of the Eastern world. But I would only imagine that that's where we get our guitar from. And the sitar is a fretted instrument. The interesting thing about it is if you press the fret harder or if you move the string up and down, you get the effect that we kind of get when we play with the slide, when we play blues. So it's to me, the sitar can be a real influential instrument to any guitarist. It opens up your ears to hearing things, all these microtones, notes in between notes that are so available on an instrument like that. Because Eastern musicians, those notes, I think in a Chinese octave, for example, we have 8 diatonic notes, or 12. That's as many as we can really hit, or 12 chromatic tones. I think the Chinese octave, if I'm not mistaken, has 64 recognizable pitches. Wow. Yeah. And, that being, of course, Eastern music. I'm very influenced by that.